Jim told me that there was no way anyone would pay more for his books if he were to raise the price. I told him he was dead wrong. And you're going to want to stick around to find out exactly why, because we are going to discuss success stories, the power of self-publishing. This is Chris Baird from Self-Publishing Made Easy Now, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. Well, the thing is Jim from North Carolina, he's been writing over the years a series of survival books and putting them out on Amazon on the nonfiction side of things. It's an exciting thing that he really enjoys in his personal life, and he'd been putting books out onto the market. But the problem was he wanted to sell more of his books. And so he was trying to figure out exactly what he needed to do. He wasn't seeing the sales increase. I mean, sometimes as he was putting new books on the market, he would see the sales go up a bit, but then they would just flatline, and he really wasn't seeing another way of doing it without writing a lot more books onto the market. The thing was, within his niche, he could see that other people were, in fact, making quite a bit more money and a lot more sales on their books than his. And he was trying to figure out exactly why they were making more money than he was making on his books and what exactly he would need to do. Because the problem was he was starting to lose his motivation to keep on writing. He started to doubt the issue of maybe the market was too small or people just didn't really like his survival books, and that maybe that was the reason why he really wasn't selling any additional copies. So he was trying to figure out what could he do in order to increase it. So the first thing he did was he tried adjusting the cover, because he had heard, I've mentioned this before as well, that the cover is the second most important thing when it comes to your book. Your title and subtitle even more important, but your cover is number 2. So he thought maybe he could adjust the covers, but he was still getting about 1 to 2 sales a day on his main book. Then the second thing he tried to do was changing the descriptions, try to mix it around, change the paragraphs up, which I also definitely recommend fixing your descriptions if possible. And so that was the second thing. And so, but the problem was he was still selling only about 1 to 2 sales a day. And based upon that, he had to figure out a solution. So he was reading through one of my blogs that he got to. He had Googled his way forward somehow and managed to find one of my blogs. He was reading through it, and he decided he was getting tired of this and wanted to see if there was another way to go about doing this. And so he decided to book a free discovery session with me where we could sit down and go through his exact issue, looking exactly at his specific case and pulling in the knowledge from hundreds of other sessions where we go through the exact same sorts of issues and challenges and see if we can find what we can fix in order to increase sales on his book. So the first thing I noticed was that his book prices were way too low. Specifically, his paperback prices. He was making about $1 to $2 a sale, so of course this was a terrible thing. So I was telling him that what you're going to want to do is make sure you're making at least $5 off of each sale of your paperback book. That's our starting price. Even that, he reacted to me, and Jim was like, this can't be the case because nobody's going to pay that much money for a book, right? He assumed that if he's not selling thousands of copies and such, then that clearly tells him that nobody's really interested in paying any more. So if he raised the price, his sales should go down. Well, what happened was he started testing this out. So what happens is he set his price up, so he's making $5 a sale. Then we followed strategy number 2 with these, which is every time you make 6 sales in a 30-day period, we raise the price by $1. And if we go 30 days without making any sales at all, we go back to the base price and we start over again. And so we continue this particular flow. And so what happens then is you're going to earn at least that $5 on a sale for your paperback books and your hardbacks. And then, assuming they're not bundles, if they're bundles, then that changes the rules a bit, because then you have the base price, and then we get a $1 additional profit for each bundle. That tells you the price of the bundle. That helps motivate people to purchase those bundles. But assuming just basic single copies, and his Kindle book, which he had thought he could sell at like maybe half the price of his paperback at $5.99, he realized, I told him, no, that needs to be at $2.99, because we're using the Kindle book to drive the traffic with the ads in order to get them to buy the paperback book, which is going to be highly priced, or the market's going to tell us. And from my own personal experience, I had just actually looked at one of my top selling books, and it was raised, the price has been raised on it 28 times. That's right. So each copy that sells, it's $28 plus the $5. So that takes you to a $32 profit on each sale. And I was completely blown away by the fact that this strategy, which I was introduced to years ago and have tested out and figured out exactly how to work it to get the maximal maximum out of the Amazon algorithm that they're using, and found this one is by far more effective than anything. And so I gave that suggestion, and he just thought there's no way this is going to work. But he was said, okay, fine, I'm willing to give it a try. And he thanked me for the discovery session. Also, if you wish to have a discovery session, go ahead and check out below in the description, and you can click on the link and book a free discovery session at a time that works for you. So ultimately, he was wondering a little bit about this whole pricing thing and whether people would actually be willing to pay a higher price, because for him, he thought pricing is really only about telling people how much money something's worth, and that's the reason they'll choose price to decide whether they're going to buy or not. In reality, pricing is about quality. It tells people the quality of the book, and it sometimes impacts the experience on the book. If I give it to you completely for free, you're going to be less likely to read a book than if you have to pay $100 for that book. It's just one of those rules that actually works, this psychological aspect that when people are coming into it, that they look at it, the price itself only serves like 5th to 6th, 7th place in terms of when a person is evaluating whether or not they want to do something. People do it all the time when it comes to pricing. So the thing was, he agreed to do it. So he increased his price. And what happened was he saw absolutely no changes on his survival books. The sales were still the same, except for one difference. He was making a lot more money on these paperback sales. He also noticed by decreasing his price of his Kindle books, he was increasing the sales on those specific books. So the total amount of money coming in was drastically going up. He was starting to notice a huge shift. So then over several weeks, he continued to increase the prices, because remember, he was getting 1 to 2 sales a day. So every 3 to 5 days, he would hit the 6th sale, which would bump the price another $1. And he kept doing this for a period of several weeks as the price continued to go higher and higher. And finally, a few more weeks, it finally stabilized, where suddenly it wasn't hitting the 6. It was getting close to it, but it wasn't quite hitting the 6. And he was now making 5 times the amount of royalties that he had made in the beginning. It was an absolute complete success. He was a success story. Jem was doing an amazing job. And the funny part of it was that he wasn't actually having to do anything. He just changed the price. The product's identical. It's your market who gets to decide. And that was when Jem realized the key here. He misunderstood what pricing is really about at the core level. That pricing is really, it communicates the quality of what you're selling, and it tells the market, hey, this book is quality. If you want it, you're going to have to pay a little bit more money. And as a result, the market itself, they buy a lot of copies, the price goes up. They quit buying copies, well, bring it back down to the base price, but never under $5 in royalties. And so, but the thing is that your market itself, it tells you exactly what the value of something is if you're listening. And the thing is that a lot of us experience aspects of success and aspects of failure, but we need to make adjustments on what they're doing. If you have experienced success with your books, I'd like to know about it. So go ahead and tell me below in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.